Hello. So today I am going to talk about the series The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. So here's the rub. I finally got the hold on the fourth book of this series the other day, which took like 4 years apparently, but that is beside the point. So I opened the book to start reading it, got 3 sentences in, and was like, huh? Who? Huh? What? I had no idea what was going on and what. I should add, this kind of thing does not usually happen to me. Well, at least it didn't used to happen to me before I had children, and they may have sucked some of my sanity and a lot of my reading comprehension, but still, this was definitely out of the ordinary. I once took a How Well Do You Know Twilight quiz like 5 years after reading it only once and aced it like it was my favorite book I'd read dozens of times. So what I'm trying to say here is the fact that I couldn't even remember what had happened at all in the third book of this series is a pretty big red flag on how memorable these books were. Not memorable at all, apparently. So I stopped reading after like the first page, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go back because I'm kind of angry at this series for going to 4 books anyways, because I totally thought it was a trilogy all the way till about halfway through the third book when I was like, shouldn't you be trying to wrap things up right about now? I then Googled it and was very angry to find no. I had to suffer through another book to get to the end. Seriously? Yeah. I guess I'll go put that one on hold. Fast forward 4 years or so to last week, and here we are. In retrospect, I probably should have just stopped reading after book 1, but sometimes series get better. So I was willing to give it a second chance, and then, like I said before, I thought it was a trilogy, and there was only 3 books, so I was like, well, I've already read 2, I might as well read the third one and finish the series, and anyway, downward spiral, here we are. So this is what I do remember about these books. It's a hierarchy society where the ones at the top are all powerful, and the ones at the bottom are just trying to stay alive. And it's kind of complicated story, I guess, starting with a girl from the slums desperate to get out. So she aligns herself with a rebel alliance, but then she finds herself at the palace where she befriends the 2 princes while also trying to help start a revolution. So fast forward, one prince is evil and manages to frame the other one for the murder of their father. So evil one takes the throne while girl and the rightful heir are banished. And while banished, they team up with the rebels and try like simultaneously to defeat the evil prince and start a revolution. At least that's what I think I remember happened. I guess you could say that my biggest beef with this series is that it was so unmemorable, but it goes like farther. I think it's so unmemorable because the characters are so unlikable, and not in a good like anti-hero Katniss Everdeen way, but who are you and why am I supposed to care kind of way. So we have what's her name, the Red Queen lady. See, I've read 3 books about her and I can't even remember her name again. Maybe that says something. Oh, Mare, that's her name. So we have Mare, who starts out as a low-life thief who is bitter and angry at life and everyone and everything, and especially her sister, who is better at life than her, and her mom, who likes her sister more than her, but also doesn't know how to hide it. So, but of course, you know, she loves her family and would do anything for them. Obviously. So she then kind of like plays a hand in ruining her sister's life by literally ruining her sister's hand, which is their only form of income because her sister embroiders. Anyway, so she really doesn't want to go home and face the fact that she completely failed her family. So she's just kind of like wallowing around in self-pity when rando prince in disguise decides to help her out and give her a job at the palace. So she goes to the castle, and then poof, she's really a secret superhero that's more powerful than all the other superheroes combined. Except that she's not, and she's actually really bad at being a superhero, and bad at flirting, and bad at fighting, and dancing, and talking, and basically, she's just bad at everything. But don't worry, because she is still very in demand and finds herself not in a love triangle, but more like a love rectangle, maybe? I don't know. I can't remember if the best friend actually ended up with feelings for her or not, but I want to say yes, even though he gave up kind of quickly because, two princes are running after her, so what are you going to do? But she must be pretty great, right? Who knows? Either way, I ended up spending most of the story being like, why does this guy like her again? Why do both of these guys like her again? Why do all three of these guys like her again? Which, we'll get to them in a minute. But first, so you have the protagonist, who isn't a protagonist at all, and more like a puppet, and not like a marionette puppet with strings, but more like a sock puppet, who's just getting like swept down a river, bobbing up and down, trying to keep her head above water. I don't know. She really had no role in the events that play out in this story, except that she happens to be there for them. I mean, okay, that might be a little harsh. She has a role, she does stuff, but one that literally anyone in the right place at the right time could have played. Sure, she's special, but as you go further and further into the story, she becomes less and less special to the point where you're like, wait, so there are hundreds of people just like her, maybe even better than her? How exactly did this not come up and get exposed way before this? Anyway, her role is pivotal in the way that you need cheese to make a grilled cheese sandwich, but you really don't have to have that cheese. So, which actually brings me to the point of what's wrong with the plot. Let me say first that for the most part, I didn't have a big beef with the plot. It was pretty fast-paced, and there were enough sub-characters to keep it moving, and it mostly worked. In case you don't know, the world that we're living in, silvers are the ruling class, and they have silver blood and superpowers, and they rule of the reds who don't. They aren't supposed to have superpowers. Basic abuse of power and status issues ensue. It's basically the world we live in if Magneto got his way and mutants controlled the government. Although the silver powers are generational, so every Magneto can only have more Magnetos. The king is a fire user, so all his sons are also fire users, kind of a thing. But Mare is a magical red who miraculously has superpowers too, because the reds aren't supposed to have superpowers, but she does. And the red powers don't follow the same rules, so they can have any power. For instance, she shoots lightning, but her brother can teleport, so more basic, sporadic X-Men type superpowers. Which is all well and good. The only gaping hole with this is the extent of the Reds with superpowers cover-up, which kind of makes you wonder, maybe these Reds deserve to stay where they are because no one did anything about this for a long time, a really, really long time. Even though they've apparently been manifesting powers for quite a while, the fact that the Silvers managed to be covering it up while like simultaneously being astonished at the revelation seems a bit convoluted, but whatever. Once everything is out in the open, it becomes a little more plausible, but sadly by then I'm not sure if I still cared. And now that I think about it, it might be the fact that there is so much going on and you're supposed to care about so much that I kind of got overwhelmed and stopped caring at all. Okay, so back to the characters. So we also have Maven, young, misunderstood, neglected prince who, despite that, seems to be actually pretty likable. But hey, can't have that, so surprise, he's actually a closet psychopath. Think Prince Hans from Frozen. But guys, don't worry, it may not be his fault, because his mom totally brainwashed him, so he murders babies and likes it, but, you know, it's still not his fault. He's tortured, guys. It's true. Take what you want from that. And then you have Cal, who the rightful heir turned reluctant rebel, which I have to say, I actually really like Cal. He's the only character that seems to have logical depth and is actually a nice person. He has the whole conflicting duty and tradition with reformation going for him. He knows what's wrong with the world, but understands how it got there. He's the one who ends up having to make like all the hard choices, and I really like that about him. It's really easy to, you know, rebel and fight for the cause when you have nothing to lose. And it's also pretty easy to point fingers and not offer solutions. He was pretty hesitant to do either of those things, and I respected him for that. So, sadly though, he fell for Mare, who cannot comprehend where he is coming from and thinks the only solution is to destroy and rebuild from scratch. You know, why wouldn't he hope that the government his family spent generations building and he spent his life learning is worth saving and could possibly be reformed rather than just completely abolished? But, you know, that might just be my anti-rebel side coming out. So, I do like Cal, and it seems the author realized how shallow and unlikable Mare is, because she continues to add more and more characters and even starts moving to their perspectives, so you gradually get less and less of Mare as the series goes on, which does become slightly necessary as the plot gets more and more complicated, but really in the end I feel the author spreads you a little too thin. She wants you to care about all these people and all their individual plights, but in reality I felt I just got spread so thin that rather than care more, I started caring less. Till, let's face it, I opened the fourth book and couldn't even remember the main character's name. So, there you have it. That's how I feel about the Red Queen series. So, all in all, Cal, I really do hope that you find what you're looking for and you get your happy ending. Mare, I could not care less if you end up getting what you want. But since Cal's happiness rests in part with your happiness, I hope it works out for you too. And that's all I have for you today. So later pages. Thanks, guys.